you said something about leadership, so I do want to ask you two last questions because you've been pretty vocal about this, and I appreciate your vocalness with it. So, just recently, I think it was probably yesterday, you tweeted about Russell Moore and some leaked letters that has to do with some of the sexual abuse scandals that were taking place. So I read an article. I was just wondering if you can shine a little bit of light as to what actually took place with those letters. And for those who don't know, Russell Moore was the leader of the SBC for a while, wasn't he?
Well, of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission of the
Okay, the
SBC.
ERLC.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I have a podcast called The Sword and the Trowel, and we actually deal with that on the episode this week. And I've written on it too. If you want to go to founders.org and Google or search through that website, you can find things where I've said about this more in detail. But Russell Moore resigned from his leadership of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, which is obviously by its title, the ethical branch and arm of the SBC. He resigned in May of this year, May 2021. But before he went out, he went out with a bang. I guess slightly after he resigned, there was a letter that was leaked to the press that he wrote in February of 2020. So what is that, 15, 16 months prior to our annual convention was meeting in Nashville in June of 2021. So just before the annual meeting, this leaked letter that Russell wrote to the officers of the trustees of the ERLC in February 2020 gets made known publicly. In this letter, he uses language about being forced to into a culture in the executive committee of the SBC where women are being raped and children are being ripped to shreds. And all of this has been going on, and I can't take it anymore. And psychological terrorism is being used against me. February 2020, he writes all these words about what has been going on for some time before. And that email doesn't get distributed to all of the trustees on the board of the ERLC, but only the president, David Prince, and maybe the other officers. And when it comes public in June, one of the trustees, John Whitehead, who's a Harvard-trained lawyer who sits on the board of trustees for the ERLC, asked David Prince, who's a professor at Southern Seminary and the chairman of the board of trustees, why didn't this come to all of the trustees when Russell wrote it in February 2020? Why are we having to find out about it being leaked to the press? And David told him, well, Russell was just hot-headed and he wrote that in a moment of passion and it was over and he just put his head down and kept working. Well, as John, a lawyer, he says, no, man, we have a fiduciary responsibility as trustees. If these things were going on, then Russell basically is admitting to standing by, doing nothing when culture is being created by the executive committee of the SBC, where women are being raped and children are being ripped to shreds. Now, when I read Russell's leaked letter, and I've known Russell for 25 years, I thought, how could you be a Christian man and say this has been going on and you've been silenced by it, that you weren't allowed to speak about it? I don't care what it cost you. I don't care what the odds are. If that's going on, God kill me before he lets me stand by and just say, well, because I'm being psychologically terrorized, I can't do anything about it. Pick up the phone and call the police. I mean, this is nonsense. He's talking about criminal activity.
Yep.
And yet he doesn't do a thing about it from the time he writes about it in February 2020 to the time that it's leaked in June of 2021. Now, John Whitehead, the trustee, the lawyer, he has recently sent a long document outlining all of this with emails, with attachments for verification, all the evidence to this task force that has been formed to look into the executive committee's cover up of sexual abuse, and as well as to the executive committee itself. He's released it. He said, look, everybody needs to know about this. Well, everybody could have known about it back in June if Baptist Press had enough courage or concern to even pick up the story. But they to this day have not said word one about it, which, you got to ask the question, why not? What are they covering up? Or why isn't this a major scandal? This is horrific that the head of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission would admit to knowing about a culture of where women are being raped and children are being ripped to shreds, and he didn't say a word about it.
So why didn't he? That's my big question.
Well, here's what I think is that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I don't think there is such a culture. And yet that leaked letter became the basis for what happened at the SBC in Nashville in 2021. And Mike Stone, who was one of the candidates for president against Ed Litton, was defeated on the second ballot. And I had many people tell me, well, with all the scandal surrounding the executive committee, all these accusations of covering up sex abuse, we couldn't vote for him because Mike was on the executive committee. It's bogus.
Yeah.
It was a political hack job. And I think Russ Moore, I just think he's not telling the truth. If he's telling the truth, he ought to name names. He ought to call the police.
Yep.
If you don't name names and call the police, there's something deviant about you if what you're saying actually happened.
You can catch brand new episodes of Indie Thinker with Reed Huberman every Monday and weekly bonus episodes to keep you thinking throughout the week. But you have to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like this video and share it with friends.